Welcome to Focus English with Cece. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cece. Today, I want to talk to you heart to heart. Not as a teacher, not as a content creator, but as a person who was once just like you, nervous, unsure, and stepping into something completely new for the very first time. Let me ask you something. Do you remember your first job? That very first time you walked into a place, hoping someone would give you a chance? Maybe your hands were shaking a little. Maybe your heart was beating fast. Maybe, like me, you felt excited, but also scared. I want to take you back to that time in my life. I was just 17, a teenager with big hopes but no experience. And that's where this story begins. Are you ready? Let's begin. At 17, everything feels big. Every decision, every thought, every small dream. And one of those dreams for me was to get a job. Not a big job. I didn't want to wear a suit or sit at a desk. I just wanted something simple. Something real. Something I could do after school or on the weekends. A part-time job. You see, most of my friends had already started working. Some worked at cafes, others helped out in shops. I remember listening to their stories during lunch breaks, stories about funny customers, free coffee, and even the small feeling of independence when they held their own money. I wanted that. I wanted a story too. But inside, I was asking myself the same questions that you might have asked. What kind of job could I even get? I don't have experience. Who would hire me? I've never even talked to a manager before. And yet, one quiet afternoon after school, as I was walking home, something changed. I saw a little bakery near my neighborhood. The smell of bread stopped me in my tracks, and on the window, a small sign caught my eye. It said, "We're hiring." My heart jumped. I stood there for a moment, staring at that sign. I didn't move. I just thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is how my story begins. I stood outside for a few minutes. My mind was full of doubts. What would I say? What if I sound silly? What if they ask me something I don't know? But then, I remembered something my mom always says. If you never try, you'll never know. So I pushed the door open, and just like that, I stepped into something new. The bakery was warm. It smelled like cinnamon and fresh bread. There was a soft hum of the coffee machine, and a woman behind the counter looked up and smiled. That smile made me feel safe. I walked up and said, "Hi, I saw the sign outside. I'm looking for a job." I think she could tell I was nervous. She said her name was Suri and invited me to sit down. We had a short chat. She asked if I had any experience. I told her the truth. No, but I'm a quick learner. She looked at me for a second, then smiled again and said,
"Okay, come in tomorrow morning. We'll try one day. If it goes well, you're in."
Can you imagine that moment? The mix of relief, joy, and panic? I walked out of the bakery that day floating. I couldn't believe it. Someone gave me a chance. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. The sky outside was still dark and the house was quiet. I got dressed slowly, carefully, white shirt, black pants, and those new shoes that felt just a little too tight. I looked at myself in the mirror and whispered, "You can do this." I left home early. I didn't want to be late. When I arrived, Suri was already inside, setting up the bakery. She greeted me with a kind smile, and just like that, my first day began. She gave me a quick tour. The counter, the pastry shelves, the coffee machine. Everything looked so new and a little scary. She said,
Don't worry. We'll go step by step. You're not expected to know everything right away.
I nodded, trying to remember every little thing. My brain felt full after only 5 minutes, but I wanted to do well. I wanted to prove that I was someone worth keeping. My first task? Wipe the tables and refill napkins. Easy, right? Still, I moved slowly, making sure everything looked neat. I checked twice. I wanted to get it right. Then, a customer walked in. My heart skipped a beat. Sorry said gently.
Go ahead. Take the order.
I smiled, even though my hands were shaking. I asked, what would you like today? I typed in the order carefully and gave back the change without dropping a single coin. That felt like a small win. But soon, it was time for the coffee. Now, here's the truth. I had never touched a coffee machine before. At home, I didn't even drink coffee. But I had watched Suri do it once, and I thought, okay, I'll try. I pressed a button, then another. Then, whoosh! Hot milk sprayed out and coffee spilled everywhere. It was a mess. I stood there frozen, embarrassed. My face turned red. I whispered, I'm so sorry. But Suri didn't get upset. She walked over, smiled, and said something I'll never forget.
It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Just clean it up and try again. You're doing great.
Her words were simple, but they meant everything. In that moment, I felt seen. I felt safe. And most importantly, I felt like I could keep going. So I cleaned up the mess, took a deep breath, and tried again. This time, I made the perfect cup of coffee. And let me tell you something. It wasn't just about coffee. That moment taught me something big. It taught me that failure is not the end. It's the beginning. You learn, you grow, and then you get better. After that first day, something inside me shifted. I didn't feel like just a nervous teenager anymore. I felt capable. Not confident yet, not fully, but a little spark had started to grow. And I wanted to come back. I wanted to keep learning. So I did. Every day after school, and every weekend morning, I showed up at the bakery. I wiped tables, I restocked sugar packets, I learned how to greet customers with a warm smile even when I was tired, even when my feet hurt. And slowly, the bakery became more than just a place to work. It became a classroom, not with books or tests, but with lessons that I would carry for life. Suri started teaching me how to make different types of coffee: cappuccino, latte, Americano. At first, I was slow. My hands didn't move naturally. I had to count steps in my head. But with time, it became smoother. I stopped overthinking. My hands began to trust what my mind had learned. There was one morning I remember so clearly. The bakery was busy. It was raining outside, and people were rushing in to get warm drinks before work. The line got long. The orders piled up, and I felt the pressure building in my chest. I was about to panic. I looked at Suri, hoping for help. But instead of stepping in, she simply nodded at me, a quiet signal. You've got this. So I took a deep breath and just did the next thing. One cup, one smile, one order at a time. That morning, I didn't mess up. I didn't spill anything. I didn't forget names or orders. And when the last customer left, Suri looked at me and said,
You handled that like a pro.
I smiled. A real smile. Because in that moment I realized something. I was no longer just the new girl at the bakery. I was part of the team. One day, after I finished wiping down the counter and turning off the coffee machine, Suri called me over. She handed me a small white envelope. I looked at it, a little confused.
It's your first paycheck.
She said. I held it in my hands like it was something fragile. I didn't open it right away. I just looked at it. This small envelope, it wasn't about the money inside. It was about what it meant. It meant I showed up. I worked. I earned something on my own. When I got home that day, I quietly opened the envelope and saw the numbers. It wasn't much, but it felt like gold. I showed it to my mom and dad, and they both smiled. My dad patted my shoulder and said,
You worked hard. You should be proud.
And I was. I still remember what I did with that first bit of money. I didn't go out and buy something big. I didn't save all of it, either. I used part of it to buy a small gift for my little sister, a notebook with stars on the cover, because she loved writing stories. The rest I kept in a box in my drawer, just to remind myself, you did this. You started something. Getting that first paycheck was a moment I'll never forget. Not because of the amount, but because it marked the beginning of a new chapter. I wasn't just someone's daughter or student anymore. I was someone who could stand on her own feet. And that changes you. You walk a little taller. You feel a little stronger. You start to believe in yourself just a bit more. As the weeks passed, something beautiful started to happen. I stopped feeling like the new girl. The bakery no longer felt like a strange place. It started to feel like mine. I knew where everything was. I could start the coffee machine without second-guessing myself. I remembered regular customers by name. And one morning, Suri handed me the keys.
Can you open up tomorrow?
She asked casually, like it was no big deal. But to me, it was a very big deal. Opening the bakery meant she trusted me. It meant I wasn't just helping out anymore, I was part of how the place ran. I said yes, of course. Then I went home, lay in bed that night, and stared at those keys for a long time. The next morning, I got there early. I unlocked the door, turned on the lights, put on my apron, and started the coffee machine. It was quiet, peaceful. And for a moment, I just stood there and took it all in. I had come so far from that girl who stood outside, too nervous to walk in. Now, I was the one opening the doors. And it made me think, growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes, it's small, quiet, slow. Working at that bakery taught me how to be responsible, how to handle pressure, and how to keep my cool when the line of customers was out the door. I learned how to work with people, not just serve them, but connect with them. The people I worked with, they became more than co-workers. We laughed over spilled batter, danced to the radio during closing time, and sometimes we just stood together in silence after a long, hard shift. I belonged there. That first job taught me more than any classroom ever could. It showed me how to stay calm under pressure, how to work with others, and how to believe in myself even when I wasn't perfect. Most of all, it reminded me that growth is a journey, and every small step matters. What about you? What did your first job teach you? Wherever you are on your journey, just starting or already growing, keep going. You're doing better than you think. Thank you for listening to the story today. I hope you enjoyed the story, and practice some real-life English. I've created a free PDF with new words and sentence patterns from today's story, along with easy examples. It will help you learn more easily and more quickly. Also, just click the link in the description to download your free PDF gift. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe for more gentle stories. Keep learning, keep smiling. See you next time, my friend.